It is a pleasure to be here to see the launch of literally my first initiative since joining the government. And it has been quite an interesting experience, just learning the process. But I'm so grateful for all the support. So I want to say again, good morning, colleagues across the public service, union leaders and members, representatives of the private sector organization of Jamaica, our social partners, members of the media, and fellow Jamaicans. Thank you for those encouraging words, Mr. St. Patrice Ellis. You know, Patrice is my middle name. and he made reference to my background in the Foreign Service because he also shares that background in the Foreign Service. And so it has been really good to work with so many different persons to get to today's launch of the flexible work arrangements as a national initiative. This represents an important and deliberate step in Jamaica's ongoing public sector transformation program, one that is designed to build a public service that is more efficient, more accountable, more customer-focused, and better equipped to meet the needs of a modern Jamaica. The idea of flexible work arrangements in Jamaica has been evolving for several years. Long before it became a part of our legislative framework, there was growing recognition that traditional, rigid work models were no longer fully aligned with changing technologies, workforce expectations, or global best practices. The conversation intensified during the COVID-19 pandemic, when public and private sector entities alike were required to adapt quickly to remote and hybrid work environments. What emerged from that experience was a powerful lesson. Productivity is driven by outcomes, not just physical presence. In 2014, but before I get to 2014, let me just share a little bit with coming back home in April of last year. Time is going by so quickly. So in April, I had an appointment in New Kingston. And then I had another appointment at 6 o'clock in Jacks Hill. And it took me 1 hour and 35 minutes to get from New Kingston to Jacks Hill. It was like a shock to my system. I'm like, this is probably what prosperity looks like, and that many more people, are driving, but it is just not productive. And then I see the same thing in the same narrow hours in the mornings. So the idea came to me, we need to have flexible working hours. I thought I was coming up with something new. So I came to OPM, I called some persons and said, we need to introduce flexible working hours. Only for me to hear that, yes, we are ahead of you. That in 2014, Jamaica introduced the Employment Flexible Work Arrangements, Miscellaneous Provisions Act, which established the legal framework for flexible work arrangements. The law strikes a careful and necessary balance, supporting worker well-being while maintaining standards, service standards, and organizational performance. This law involves options which includes the staggered working hours, hybrid work, telecommuting, compressed work week, and banking of hours. I was amazed to know that this was already in place, but somehow not fully being utilized. So that's when we got to work to look at how we can have the full implementation of this act. I got interrupted for a brief period between, I think, July to September, with my focus being a bit distracted, but fortunately, in October we got back on it, and then Melissa came by and another distraction. So today is a good day. Today's launch signals the government of Jamaica's intention to move beyond policy into systematic implementation, starting with the public sector. Flexible work arrangements directly supports the objectives of the public sector transformation program, especially its focus on improving service delivery, strengthening performance management, and modernizing human resource systems. On the PSTP, we are shifting from a process-driven public service to a results-oriented one. Flexible work arrangements reinforce this shift by encouraging managers to focus on outputs, service quality, and accountability, rather than hours spent in the office. This is fully consistent with the program's emphasis on performance-based management and continuous improvement. For public sector employees, flexible work arrangements offer tangible benefits. They promote better work-life balance, as you heard earlier from Mr. Ellis, reduce commuting costs and time, support mental and physical well-being. A workforce that is healthier, more engaged, and more motivated is better positioned to deliver high-quality public services. For the government, as an employer, flexible work arrangements enhances our ability to attract and retain talent, improve staff morale, and optimize the use of public resources. It also allows ministries, departments, and agencies to optimize use of physical and human resources while maintaining or improving productivity, efficiency, which is central to my mission in government, and also service delivery. Importantly, this initiative complements other key PSTP reforms, including digital government initiatives, the use of shared services, and the modernization of business processes. Flexible work arrangements are enabled by technology, supported by digital tools, and strengthened by clearer performance metrics, the hallmarks of a transformed public service. Let me join with my colleague to emphasize that flexibility does not mean reduced accountability. On the contrary, it requires strong leadership, clear expectations, measurable performance standards, and effective supervision. As the government of Jamaica moves forward to implement the various phases of this national initiative, guidance, training, and change management support will be central to ensuring that both managers and employees are equipped to operate successfully in flexible work environments. Today's launch, therefore, represents more than a workplace policy announcement. It's a signal of how seriously the government is taking public sector modernization. It reflects our commitment to building a public service that is agile, resilient, and capable of delivering value to citizens in a rapidly changing world. To ensure the success of this initiative, as the Minister responsible for efficiency, innovation, and digital transformation in the Office of the Prime Minister, I engaged in a number of consultations. And I want to just pause to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and I especially want to acknowledge Mrs. Laura Walters, who is here with us. You did a lot of work. I appreciate it. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security, is the representative here, is it? Or the Minister, oh, yes. Sorry? You're here. Thank you, thank you. And the Permanent Secretaries Board, thank you. My own PS, Ambassador General Rocky Mead, he actually even went ahead and immediately started the pilot here at OPM so that we could see live and in action how the implementation would go and would have some time to do some changes in this to prepare for the launch. I want to also acknowledge PS Templar for some time ago starting this at JAMPRO. Didn't you start this at JAMPRO? Yes. And so we have seen where in the public service there are persons who have gone out and have done some work in getting the act going even before this formal launch. So let me also recognize of course, the trade unions, all the clerical, administrative, and supervisor employees, Probation Aftercare Officers Association, Jamaica Association of Education Officers, Jamaica Federation of Trade Unions, Jamaica Civil Service Association, the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, and the Jamaica Teachers Association. You all came out and participated and made sure that we get it right. And especially I want to acknowledge, I think this initiative actually came from the trade unions. It's not very often you have initiatives coming from the trade unions and being endorsed immediately by the government. Sometimes it takes a work in progress, but this one I think had immediate endorsement, so we are very happy for that. And I want to encourage you in the trade union to continue looking at ways that we can do more to enhance worker welfare while building productivity for the country. The feedback received from these various engagements have been positive and encouraging. We have also arrived at consensus on a way forward given the urgent need to boost productivity, efficiency, and transformation across the public sector while supporting employee well-being and job satisfaction. So far from my initial research, there are approximately 32 government entities that have already implemented some aspects of the flexible work program and have shared positive feedback. So we are now going into the full implementation of flexible work arrangements, starting on a phased basis on February 2nd, 2026. This phase will commence with staggered working hours. I wish to highlight that traditional working hours, 8:30 to 5 p.m. in the public sector, will remain available to all employees. The implementation of staggered working hours is not mandatory. However, it is strongly encouraged, and given the nature of employees' duties, staggered working hours may not be available to all categories of staff. But where there is flexibility, the government entities are encouraged to implement flexible working arrangements. And those that have implemented it before will, of course, continue. So this, again, I am actually very enthused to get on to the other areas of the work program: hybrid work, telecommuting, compressed work week, and banking of hours. But I'm being managed to make sure we do it carefully, and I'm fully in favor of that. So to make sure when we do this, there's no disruption, but in everything that we do, there'll be increased productivity. The Ministry of Finance and Public Service has prepared guidelines on the implementation of staggered work hours with consideration for core working hours. The implementation oversight will be executed by my office in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. So, in closing, flexible work arrangements as a national initiative is a catalyst for modern systems, empowered people, and better outcomes for Jamaica. By embracing flexibility, we are investing in productivity, efficiency, and future readiness of our public service. The private sector also has a significant role to play in Jamaica's productivity, and many have already started with the flexible work program. And in the coming weeks, I'll be reaching out to the private sector through the PSOJ to discuss total adoption across the private sector. So, we will have a question and answer section, so we can go into more details, such as I know, for example, we have prepared a model that shows that what the staggered working hours will look like from 6:30 to 3 p.m., for example, 7:30 to 4 p.m., 8:30 to 5 p.m., 9:30 to 6 p.m., 10:30 to 7 p.m., and so on. So we can discuss those details more, but at this time, I want to say thank you to all the stakeholders who have contributed to this moment and for your attendance and participation today and going forward. Thank you.